Here we go again. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the West Ham Network. Now, you've just witnessed West Ham, obviously, last night come off the back of that defeat against Leverkusen, and they've continued their amazing run of being unbeaten in all competitions this season. However, our selection problems have potentially worsened after that game against Bayer Leverkusen. Now, manager David Moyes did come out on the post-match press conference and state that Konstantinos Mavropanos has suffered an injury against Bayer Leverkusen. He's confirmed that the Greek defender was substituted with a knock late on in Thursday night's Europa League quarter-final leg tie, which we did, of course, lose. And you can't help but deny that we had a defensive resistance, but it was broken, obviously, in the last 10 minutes, thanks to the two big changes that Xabi Alonso made. But we are going to need to come back fighting fit, raring to go. And we are going to need as many players as we possibly can be fit at the time. However, we all know that we're going to be missing Jared Bowen. We all know potentially we could be missing Alphonse Areola. We also know we could be missing Calvin Phillips. But to make matters worse, we do know also now we're going to be losing our playmaker, Paqueta, because he did pick up his yellow card, which means he does miss the next leg against Bayer Leverkusen at home for West Ham. It doesn't just stop there, though. Unfortunately, there was two players in that game that we could not afford to get yellow cards, but they both picked up yellow cards, and the other player is Emerson Palmieri, who also missed next week's second leg tie after picking up their third yellow card of the competition. And after this round, the yellow cards would be wiped out. But unfortunately, that is the situation we are in. But David Moyes did, at the end of the press conference, state that Mavropanos came off injured late in the change, which disrupted our kind of disregard of what was happening in the game. David Moyes said at the end of it, we were aware of their style of play and we were looking to try and change things and how we could make it even tougher defensively. But Dinos came off with a little bit of an injury and it sort of affected us a little bit with that. He also went on to say that not having Emerson and Paqueta available for the next game would be a massive blow. Also, not having Jared and Alvarez tonight. But it's football, isn't it? And there's a chance you're always going to have injuries and suspensions at this time of year. And again, I suppose this brings back all the topic of players, the squad depth and the issue that this can be. But not having these three particular players that I've just mentioned to you available for the game coming up is disappointing. I suppose you could say we do have someone in terms of a Gerd who's been there, done that, wore the t-shirt with West Ham. But Dinos has been kind of getting a run of the games and been doing really well. But what you just don't want is injuries mounting up with the lack of depth in the squad and suspensions coming up as well. So massively disappointing night in Germany, really is. But again, let's just, within reason, put ourselves into context. We are playing Europe's best side right now in terms of all of their competitions, unbeaten in all competitions. Let's just hope that we can get some good news this week in relation to some of our players. We know Alvarez will be back for the game against Fulham at the weekend. Paqueta will also be there for that. But we need to build up some form of momentum. We want to see a bit of a reaction. And we know that the game's got to be different next week at the London Stadium, 100%. Not great news, though, in terms of the injury front and suspensions, but we'll have to wait and see how things move on over the week before we find out some more further details of scans and injury records, all that sort of stuff. That will come out in due course. Keep an eye on the David Moyes press conference later on today. And, of course, take it easy, everyone. Come on, your hands.